What's going on, everyone? My name is Crimson Carver, and I am back with yet another video. Now, if you don't know who I am a Warframe content creator over on YouTube, and I'm a variety streamer over on Twitch. Now, today we're going to be jumping into the Warframe Excalibur. Now, this is a beginner-friendly guide to Excalibur, right? So we're going to basically go over his stats, how to get him, where to get him, right? His abilities, his augments, any other versions that there might be, as well as a bit of gameplay at the end. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. So, sit back, enjoy the show, and I hope you guys learn something new. So, you've just started Warframe, and Warframe has given you a choice. You get to choose between 3 Warframes, alright? A big guy with a sword, another guy who shoots out electricity, and another woman who is, for lack of a better word, magnetic, right? Now, say Excalibur doesn't appeal to you at the start. That makes sense, right? So, fast forward down the line, you're like, hey, wasn't there another frame at the beginning? How do I go about getting him? Well, put simply, you can purchase him from the market for 75 plat, right? Or you can buy his main blueprint from the market and farm the rest of him on War at Mars, right? Okay, I have Excalibur now, but what do I need to know about him? Well, put simply, he has 270 health, 270 shield, 240 armor, and 100 energy, with a sprint speed of 1. Okay, so you've got yourself Excalibur, but you think, okay, everything else has a prime. Where's Excalibur's? Well, here's the thing, right? Excalibur doesn't... He has a prime, but the thing is, his prime was a Founders Edition exclusive. And in placement of that, we got something what was known as Excalibur Umbra. Now, I'm going to tell you the difference between the two, right? So, I am currently using Excalibur Umbra, right? And the difference between Excalibur and Excalibur Umbra is this. Umbra has more energy and more armor, right? That's about the only differences between the two. Oh, and his passive gets changed. Umbra exhibits sentience and fights alongside you. So, yeah, kind of cool. But, yeah, that's pretty much the only differences to note when it comes to Excalibur and Excalibur Umbra. As I don't have a prime, I can't show you the differences between the two. So, yeah. So, you farmed out all the parts, and you've got Excalibur built. But what does he actually do? Well, let me explain, right? So check this out, right? Excalibur's passive basically means, hey, you pick up that sword, you swing 10% faster, and you do 10% more damage. With swords, of course. His next ability, Slash Dash. To put simply, you pull out your sword and you dash towards an enemy dealing slash damage. Kind of makes sense. It's got a drain of 25 energy, a range of 20 meters, and a chain range of 7 meters. Okay, but how can I do better with this ability? Well, first things first, you could probably slap on a bit of efficiency. That always goes a long way. It's going to reduce the cost of any of these abilities, right? So, yeah, it's going to reduce the cost of the ability. But if you want to hit more people, right, and you want to be able to go further, your best bet is slapping on some range. Now, I recommend getting the Augur mods, right? I cannot recommend this enough. I cannot recommend this enough. That Augur Reach, Augur Message, and Augur Secrets are pretty much your filler mods for like any ability mods that you might be missing, right? So, say you don't have Intensify, you would use Augur Secrets. Say you don't have Stretch, you'd use Augur Reach. Missing Continuity? That's fine, just slap in Augur Message. But how do I get them? Well, I'm glad you asked. You get them by doing the Cetus bounties on Earth. What you want to do, right, is you want to go through the bounties and look for the ones that says Augur Message, Augur Secrets, or Augur Reach, right? Look for those and farm those out. Now, as I said before, you can slap on a bit of range to basically increase the range at which you can dash at an enemy and the range at which you can chain to additional enemies. So yeah, kind of cool. Right, so the next ability, which is called Radial Blind. Right now, I'm using Excalibur Umbra because I do not own a base Excalibur. Right, so this would normally be Radial Blind, right? What does it do? Well, you kind of just power and blind nearby enemies. That's about the best way I can put it. It has a duration, it has a range, and it has a cost, right? So 50 energy, 25 meters, and 15 seconds for the duration. You can reduce the cost by using Streamline, right? So that's going to reduce the initial cost of the ability. Slap on a wee bit of range, right? Get that range in there. That's going to increase the area at which enemies are blinded, right? So that's going to be 32 meters in any direction, I believe. And then, okay, but what if I want that blind to last longer? I'm going to slap on a bit of duration then. Take a look at that, alright? Look at that. 18 seconds. Not bad. Now, the next ability, Radial Javelin. So, essentially, you grab your sword, you plant it into the ground, and you summon spectral swords to stab enemies with, essentially. Right, so, yeah, you plant it into the ground, and it summons spectral swords that get cut a shot at enemies, right? Inflicting them with slash damage. Oh, impact and puncture too. How about that? Now, you can reduce its cost with efficiency mods like Streamline. As you can see, wait, hold up. With Streamline, as you can see. Range mods, which will increase the amount of enemies that you can hit, right? Slap that on, boom. You can now hit enemies within a 32 meter radius. And say you want your ability to do more damage, well, that's fine. I'm just going to chuck on a bit of strength. Augur Secrets. It's going to increase the amount of damage you do with this ability. It's going to increase the impact, puncture, slash damage. So yeah, keep that in mind. Alright, fourth ability, Exalted Blade. Big glowy sword that uses energy over time. And is modifiable, mind you. That's kind of cool. But, yeah. To sum this up, right, you summon a big glowy sword, and when you swing said big glowy sword, it emits, energy that can, be turned into a projectile that will basically just, you know, kind of glide forward. So, yeah. So how do we get... What is there to know about this? Okay, it's got a drain, and it's got a drain per second, which we can all modify with efficiency and duration mods. Right? So, your efficiency is going to reduce the cost and the drain. If we put on some duration mods, that's going to strictly reduce the drain over time. See? But it also blinds enemies when and only when you do a sliding attack, right? So you basically slide on the ground and raise your sword up to the sky, and it blinds enemies for about, what, 9 seconds? 6 seconds, sorry. It blinds enemies for about 6 seconds. So, yeah, keep that in mind. So, you can blind enemies, but it does have a cost, right? It does cost energy to use that blind. So, keep that in mind, right? And it is diminished compared to your radial blind, right? Okay, but what if I want more range and I want my sword to do more damage? How do I do this? Okay, so if you put range on the fourth ability, right? That's gonna essentially increase the radius at which you can blind enemies when you do a slide attack. So keep that in mind. Now, if you wanted to do more damage, there are two ways of doing this. One, you can mod it directly in your arsenal, or two, you can incorporate strength mods, right? Like August Secrets. So slap in August Secrets, boom, the damage just went up. Simple as that. Okay, so you've got to build an Excalibur, but you think that there's something missing. Well, there most certainly is, right? So every Warframe has a series of augments that can be applied to abilities, right? And these abilities make, so these augments make these abilities function in different ways, right? Okay, but what are the augments for Excalibur? Well, I'm glad you asked, right? So let's go through them, right? So he has 4. His first one is Surging Dash. Okay, what does it do? Well, put simply, so it augments the ability Slash Dash, right? Where what happens is every time you hit an enemy, you gain a certain amount of combo, right? So in this case, you gain 8 combo per hit, right? And Surging Dash can be scaled with strength, right? So you have more strength, you get more combo, right? Check that out. So yeah, more strength equals more combo. And it does use the range and the chain range of Slash Dash, so keep that in mind. Now, for Radial Blind, I don't believe there is one. No, there is not. Actually, yes, there is. Sorry, my bad. So, Radial Blind, right? What does it do? Well, essentially, whenever you blind enemies, they will take increased finishing damage. Why is this on Excalibur? I have no idea. He has no use for this whatsoever, but whatever, it's there. So yeah, you blind enemies, opening them to more finisher damage, right? And once again, it scales with strength. So you slap on more strength, bada bing, bada boom. Guess what? It does more finisher damage. Hooray! And as usual, it scales with the base stats of Radial Blind, so yeah, more range, more duration, yeah, the usual, right? Then we have Furious Javelin, right? So essentially, the way that Furious Javelin works is this. Every enemy you hit with the Javelin is going to grant you a certain amount of melee damage. How much? About 15% per enemy, right? So, so it's about 150% with 10 enemies, right? And so on and so forth. So 300% with 20 enemies, and yeah, like I said, so on and so forth. Okay, but how do I make this work for me? Well, it scales with strength and duration mods, right? So slap on a duration mod, boom, it lasts longer, right? Slap on a strength mod, boom, you get more melee damage. Okay, so now that we know that, that's how we know we can make the most use out of Radial Javelin. Right? More enemies hit, the more melee damage we receive. So yeah, it's a plus. And more duration, the longer the buff lasts. Now we have one more augment, right? And that is Chromatic Blade. So essentially, the way that this works is this, right? The emissive, whenever you equip this augment, right, the Exalted Blade automatically gains 300% increased status chance. Right? And depending on what the colors are of Excalibur's emissives. Now keep in mind, you can only use the 4 base colors, which is, I believe, red, blue, green, and white, I believe. Right, which identifies all the different elements, right? So yeah, you put this on and boom, you gain 30% status chance and your emissives now act as your elements. Cool! That basically means I can just use that to have my elemental combinations, right? I guess it's up to you. But guess what? That status chance can be increased. How? Strength mods. Check it out, right? We just put on, what is that, 24% ability strength, right? And boom. Our status chance just went up. So, yeah. I hope that helps you understand how Excalibur's augments work, and that it also helps you come on with the build for him.
The art of combat must be practiced to truly master the canvas of war.
Neural Sentry is attempting to purge you from this place. Stand by for life support. All manner of Orokin technology may work here due to the Circulus's proximity. If you have a necromancer, you may use it. Scanning for targets. The sentient is onto you. Look out for troopers. Hold out the building I can search. But you need to leave. Extraction is ready. These manifestations, they aren't from the neural sentry. Destroy them. They are drawing from your life support.